Last week, we saw one, and I don't think the other one at the end. We saw
we saw one.
demo for notifications? No.
Yes.
Yes? Today. Another one at the end. We saw one before. Topics 1.5 and topics Sultan talked about something.
About harvest?
Harvest. He talked about harvest. Today we have demos. Mike, another one?
Yeah, we'll do that title. I have it already here.
And what else? Anyone else?
We probably need to look on those PRs. There's a weird issue in all the PRs, and
yeah, I look into it. I've been pinged by Jasmin. I asked the .NET Foundation representative to talk about it, and they are investigating. There are lots of issues apparently on the bot they are using, so we should have some news on Thursday.
Sounds good. I have some questions around the GraphQL if we have time after this.
GraphQL or what? Not the same thing. GraphQL. So Orchard one. You updated SharpZipLib to 1.3 for security reasons, and Hermes optimize cache, remove some caching for the taxonomy thing. Action result GetTaxonomy, so this is not cache anymore. Taxonomy, this is an admin controller, I believe. It's not. I don't remember why, but we should explain. That's it. Should 1, should 4. When I beat someone find an issue because they want to ship a new version with all the security fixes in it. So someone is working on that. Last week. Yeah. So I think last week, display header property to ListPartSettings has been added. So there is a new property, new setting for ListPart display header. So you can customize how the header of lists show up. Add a feature to allow the user to manage tenants. Just to manage tenants. During triage. Yeah, each tenant. Okay. SqlParser and SqlGrammar subquery support, not just subquery, but also CTE. I don't remember what. CTE is query with when you start with. So if you look at the test, it will be more obvious. With CTE as select. So you do like temporary queries, temporary results, and then you can select from previously executed. So that's the first feature. And the second feature is subquery, which is select from select. Okay, kind of related features, but totally independent. The implementation parser and the grammar job. Nest library updated. Nest being an Elasticsearch client, the official one, I assume, because there are non-official Elasticsearch clients. I've read that. I believe that these kind of clients now they are checking that the server is an actual Elasticsearch server and not a clone search. These content types with dependency. I don't recall this one. Go to Merchant. Implement ITicketStore. Super nice one. The issue is that.
Oh, that last one was just to hide the add field when there is no fields.
Ah, now I remember. Thank you. When there is no fields, you don't see. What do you not see? Add fields when there is no fields.
The add field button in the UI.
Made sense when merged it. Now I don't understand anymore because if there is
Well,
a field, you can have
if
the
we
add
have
field.
no field definitions, you
No
can't add a
field.
field.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we just
field
hide the
definitions.
add field button.
Okay. ITicketStore. ITicketStore. So when you use authentication, the authentication cookie will also contain roles and permissions and other claims, which can make it very big to a point that maybe the cookie won't work anymore. So and also it's degrading perf. So this is a feature that creates an ITicketStore implementation, which is something that exists in ASP.NET Core that you can provide optionally. So it's using it to store the authentication ticket server side and not in the cookie. By default, the default behavior is to use cookie. And if you provide an implementation, it will use your implementation. So in this case, Mirage implemented an ITicketStore that uses iDistributed cache. And iDistributed cache by default stores everything in memory. But if you have enabled the feature that is something like Redis distributed cache, then it will use Redis to store the application or anything else that implement iDistributed cache, like that base implementation. So that's good because it's in memory by default, but if you use multiple machines, it can use a different store automatically. And this way, there is no more 2-bit cookies, and also it's better for perf. Taking some memory, but it's just cookies. I'm seeing an issue. Oh no, there is an expiration. There is always an expiration because the interface implements supports that and will define like an absolute or a sliding expiration, and then thinking an absolute expiration, but there is a renew ticket, retrieve ticket, or retrieve and renew. By the way, yeah, renew. Which is kind of sad because we have to deserialize and reserialize the ticket when there is a renew instead of just extend the time. That's okay. So that's a new feature from and auto-updated mkdocs plugins. Demos / topics. Mike and Mike. It's all about Mike. Mike got kicked out.
Sorry, I got kicked out trying to present. 1 second. All right. So what we're demoing today is that we created in the admin theme responsive, so you can control how they appear in a way. So if you look at them right now,
your microphone was cut when you said, I believe, configurable or setting.
okay.
So you created a setting.
Yes. Okay. First of all, as you see now, that fields are listed with the title being on their start point. In this case, it's to the left. So if you have a right to left, it will be on the right. But so the labels are on the left side right now, as you can see. The cool thing about that is just you're utilizing more of the width of the screen when the screen is large, and you're reducing the scrolling if unnecessary. So if you have a smaller screen, as you can see, the labels go back on the top as what we're used to seeing. So this only comes in, at least based on the settings that I have, if only for larger screens. So that's so if you look at all the fields here, all of them, I kind of created this content type with everything just so we can see how everything lines up properly. So there's lots and lots and lots of fields here. And these are the fields, and similarly, we also have the parts. So we have the same thing for parts. So there's a bunch of parts in here. As you can see, they all have the label being on the left. And if you click on a back part, you will see all these fields that I put just to demo how everything appears when you have a larger screen. And if you reduce your screen, again, you know, nothing changed. Everything is the same. And so
You're muted again. Well, you're not muted, but your microphone doesn't work.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's bad there.
So I was told last week that not everybody will like to see the labels on the left like this. So what we did is we made it optional. And by default, we don't, by default, nothing changed unless you explicitly change it. And just to demonstrate that real quick, I can go, this is a different tenant. So on the same application, I have this blog one tenant. And for this tenant, I don't have that same setting set. So as you can see here, nothing changed. So everything is how we're used to seeing it. Labels on the top, whether the screen is large or the screen is small. So nothing changed here. And so this was done. So here's a setting. So as you can see, I created admin theme setting, and under there are style options that I define basically classes that I want to place wherever I want to place. So there's 5 or 6 settings in there that we can control. And again, they don't impact what we have today, but if you choose to utilize this, you can add a settings per tenant. And you can, so this is the settings that we see in right now, where the label gets switched based on the width of the screen. And that's it. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Can you show the code that has to change in the views to support that?
Yes. So, so let's look at let's say title part. So here's the view for the title part. So there are helpers. So some classes were replaced by helpers. So in Orchard Core, there's few helpers that basically read the settings and inject the proper code. And so there is this helper that has to be injected in the title, any place there is a title. And then there's also a dev. So there's a new divider that needs this helper. So basically this allows us to break the label away from the containing element here. And then there's the input. And so the input, there is nothing additional here, really. It's just these two helpers, this one and this one. And that takes care of the rendering properly.
Can you link to the PR issue about that so people can comment on it?
Oh, PR. Yes, there is a PR for that. And let's see, it's right here. So there's a PR number 12627. And I put the settings that we demonstrated. I put some quick views here. So again, by default, you don't get this behavior. It's only when you enable the settings, which is kind of nice because it doesn't break existing code. So if someone wants the settings, they better update their views to use the helpers in order to for this to work for them, or for their custom code anyway.
So the ask here is from me to let anyone comment on the issue if they want this feature, knowing that it's optional, but it makes us use this new extension method on all the labels and add a div also for each label. So it's a requirement for new developers and for existing views to change that to support the feature.
Yes, and I think I've changed all the parts, common parts that we use, and also the view, the fields, so they're all up to date with this. So anybody wants to use this, if this was merged, is that their custom views will have to update to utilize the helpers. But again, only if they decide they want to use the style settings. If they don't want to use the style settings, no harm, no foul. Everybody continues on their business. So it's not a breaking change.
A new feature, we also need to follow the new behavior, the new styling.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The new feature and the new views will also have in Orchard Core, I mean, not custom ones, but the core feature will also have to follow the same pattern also.
Which what might change that actually makes that happen. So it changes our core features.
You know what I mean? All the new views will also have to use the label.
Yes.
Extension methods. That's what I'm saying.
We have to use like the function, the methods, just so that way everything is consistent. And just the fact that it's configurable kind of makes it easier down the line, instead of injecting a bunch of classes manually, and then if we need to upgrade, we have a lot of things. So having it in a configuration, I think it makes it also easier to upgrade down the line a little bit anyway.
Thank you. So Gabor, you'll talk with your friends from Lombik to see they react with the feature. Because you write some views.
Sorry, say that again.
I asked Gabor to check with his colleagues about that feature, because they write a lot of views and they must have an opinion about that. I also know they love frameworks and
the good thing is that nothing is going to break for them. if they want to utilize the new feature, they just have to adhere to it.
Sure, but on the other side of the thing is that you have to change the way you write views. If you don't want to break people who use the setting. Okay. Anything else? Should I share my screen? Oh, we can talk about 1.5. Oh no, you have a topic. You want to talk about that? Oh, let's look at 1.5. So what we did on Thursday is I have it there. So on Thursday, the pull request. All the PRs are blocked. Oh, I missed some comment. So on Thursday, oh no, Jasmine has been adding documentation, so that's good. So Jasmine has added release notes. We updated the translation, which are on the get feed now. So that's good. I assume people have tried it. All the documentations have been updated to 1.5. Job. The only thing with that is we can just miss some of them. So we'll see which ones we've missed. Release date October. That's it. I don't remember which one. Maybe because it's been a long time. Oh, that's good. We have the things here. That and the migration steps, are they there? Upgrade steps, migrations. Changes. Maybe we there. That's good. It was already there from the scene, so that's great. That's good. We talked about it. The settings have changed. Yes, SQL. Yes, SQL. We need to add yes, SQL. Well, connection string changing.
I have a pull request for that, but I can't merge it.
Request. Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be merged on the dev branch.
What? There is no dev branch. And it should target this branch. That's fine, but I'd say it won't break anything if we just target. So we know exactly. This way we have, it's honestly, it's kind of stupid to change it to 1.5 as long as we merged it before, but should I? Because we'll merge main to release 1.5 either way. There might be some conflict though, because then two PR will change. Yeah, I target still 1.5. This way, the two PRs won't change the same file. It could trigger some conflicts. So let's target 1.5. If you can rebase, it will make it clean, but that should work. Right? It should just be. So job, what else?
So any merges that happens now, they're not gonna make it to 1.5. I mean, I see you create a branch for 1.5. So
yeah, but they are still because unless They don't have to, but they are still, because we still intend to merge main 215. Be careful, if we accept a big change in main, then we'll have to reconsider that. So I think it would be nice to merge main 215 right now, just so we keep everything, so we don't take the risk of accepting something in main that we don't want in 1.5, and then it will be hard.
Well, I think before you do that, I think you need to accept there's two 1.5 PRs that we should. One of them was whatever Jasmine was just mentioning, and the other one, there's two of them for targeting 1.5 that we might need to merge first.
One.
Yeah, yeah, they are marked as the 1.5.
Yeah.
Can anyone but me merge these ones even without the bot? Antoine, I believe you can, right? Is Antoine here? I'm like assuming Antoine is here because, yeah, he's always here. Maybe he's watching soccer. So I believe Antoine can do that also. Jasmine, can you check this box?
No, I can't.
Aha.
This is why I was asking.
I might add some people until the bot is fixed here.
Probably on the side of .NET Foundation.
Or maybe I can make this one not required. I will check if I can change that to make not required. I'm not even sure I can access anything from that. Check.
What is that check? What does it do? Or what's the reason it's failing?
Because there is a bot somewhere working on a different machine or different CI that ensures that any contributor to this project has signed the CLA, the contributor license agreement. And this bot is checking that the current user submitting the PR has signed it. Mirage has signed it, but the bot isn't working, so it's not telling GitHub that it's fine. The bot is broken, so they are looking into that. Why it's broken. Like a GitHub action working on a different repo for it. But this is required, so I will check if I can make it unrequired for now. But we should not then approve PRs from people who are new to the repo and have never signed the CLA. The CLA meaning like if you participated with some code that you don't own or you stole from someone, you're responsible. We are not responsible, and we'll remove it. So this one I can merge, right? This is Mirage agreed with Jean-Thierry's request to remove dependency on the tray from the ticket store. Did you mention some? Oh, so this one you wanted to be merged, right?
Yeah, that's a documentation about the breaking change.
So why isn't it blocked? Is that the bot?
Interesting.
Oh, the bot didn't run. Maybe because it's just documentation.
It was blocked by license CLA yesterday.
Interesting, but I changed the branch and now it's working. Or maybe it's just blocking main. Maybe the bot is just blocking main. But now I'm afraid, can you rebase that? I'm afraid that it will do these changes also. Or because you base on main. Okay, so maybe we should
Probably,
main. Let me do something quickly. Before that, and it will solve that. I will release. Why don't I see the release? Why don't I see release?
click on the origin.
So I checked out release and I will merge. push that. This one magically nope, it's not magic. Still needs to be rebased. Too sad. Okay, you will rebase. That's one.
Why 89 files changed?
Because when it was created from a main. And I changed the target to 1.5, which was not in sync with main. So it's trying to push all the changes from main to 1.5. That's why. And that's why I was trying to say, now let's update 1.5 with main. So this one, not that, but doesn't work. Yeah, it's not on your branch. So which one is that? This one, right? I will force push your PR. You trust me? And now magic will happen. What? Stupid. I don't get it. No, okay, it was just okay. No, it was just a cache. Actually, I'm sure it was working before. Maybe it was just a cache. Ah,
Refresh.
ah,
There you go.
nice. Anything else? We merge main, so we are safe.
Index latest not working as intended.
What?
Fifth one from the top. Index latest not working as intended. That's a change I made, changing them to storage field, which was not a good idea. I made them as they were before, as string fields. Yeah, here I thought it was going to search by content item version ID, but we just use content item IDs in the Lucene indexing service. We just drop everything that is related to that content item ID, and then we reindex documents.
was a breaking change. Okay, so default implementation instead. Mike, are you fine with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fine with it, but it does the job. I think it's.
What do
I
you
don't
mean
know.
not fine?
Well, no, I don't think it's. I think this is not the problem. I mean, the problem with the package is he's depending on. You're basically adding a method. You're overloading your interface basically, just because the old.
Your microphone got out.
Yeah,
Can't hear you.
I think either you document the breaking change or you merge this to be backward compatible.
We can't hear you, Mike. We can hear some scratching thing.
Maybe just connect back.
Oh, I think it's a microphone issue.
Yeah, it looks like that. Like static noise.
These two arguments were new, right?
Yeah, they are like it should be, yeah. I think group was there. Yeah, the issue is that group was there. And now he sets this to null by default.
The issue is we had prior 1.5, the interface did not have the HTML prefix.
Yeah.
So we had the pre-R that added that. And now what's happening is that if you have an old project that is built with or compiled with 1.3 or 1.4, and you upgrade and a third project that depends on your second project that has 1.5, it will break because your second project isn't compiled with 1.5. So it doesn't see that parameter. So it gives, it gives you that exception saying that there is no method found. My suggestion was, if can't we just add an extension method for the old parameter, and instead of having to add to the interface, but I don't know if he tried it or whatnot, but. Because I think if you have an extension method, it will find it and it will compile or overrun, but.
Middle ground, can we make the new ones obsolete? This way, the next future version, we can remove them. Because currently all our code is in the new ones, is built with the new ones. But if they're obsolete, then existing compiled code will still work, just using obsolete methods. But new compiled code would say, hey, use this new one. So let's see what Nurse says about that.
Yeah, I would add obsolete to the method that does not have the HTML prefix.
Yeah, the new ones. I will keep this thing like you.
Yes.
But just add new ones. So we can keep that, right?
Yes. Yeah. We need to keep the one with the prefix. And then once we remove the old one, we can just set a default value or something.
And Mike, if you really think a single extension method will work outside of the interface, that would be better. We could even make it obsolete also. But if you could try that if you compile with an old interface and then.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's easy to test because it has to be part of the package. Okay, because what you need to do is to find a project that's depending on 1.3 and a new project that depends on the previous project that is using 1.5. So it's really tricky.
Sure. I don't think it's a double reference here. It's just implementing this interface, having something that implements this interface, so built with the old one, and then drop it. At least if we have that, that's the same effect. Okay, so that good. Let's give it a week to resolve all these issues, and then we can publish on again. Please test it. Please update the documentations and everything. Questions, comments, anything else?
I have a question about GraphQL.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is there any way we can hook into what we have today to filter contents? Because right now, if you have permission or if you query the graph with the Explorer or the API, you can see everyone's content. There is no, it does not honor permissions whatsoever. So I'm wondering if there is a way we can easily implement something that adds restrictions. So if you can't, if you have permission to, let's say, publish your own content, or if you edit your own content, then yeah, you can go ahead and update. I'm sorry, not update. If you don't have permission to see specific content item, then I don't want you to be able to query it using GraphQL. So is there a way where we can hook into it, where we can apply permissions before the query is executed?
So first, we don't have the notion of, well, we do, there is an event handler for content item permission, but yeah, we do have that. But we do have there is technically the way to limit per content item, but we only expose per content type right now, the editor in the settings. But by code, you could filter. Now on GraphQL, it's the same as on search. It's a second step, so you have to filter the query. So I believe it's doable because you can I'm not sure if you can do it independently from the current implementation or if you have to change the current implementation. But usually the issue there is when you start doing that, you lose paging. Like you ask for 10 results and you will get 0 results. You have to go to the next page to get the actual result that contains the thing. Because if you ask for,
if you can hook into the query just like we do in content, what you can do is figure out the content items that you have access to and bake those into the filters on the SQL side, so that way you get actual results. So we're not going to do a client side validation.
We don't do that. That's different. We do that currently on SQL because we know in the UI that we already filter by content type. So we don't say in SQL, don't show me the content item that the current user doesn't have access to. We don't say that in SQL. We say, give me this content type. And we don't say.
What I'm saying, similarly, we can check the content type definitions, right? And we know who's the current user, and we get a list of accessible content items, and then we filter. We add the SQL filter.
Then you add a filter on the content types that the user can see only.
In GraphQL?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
automatically.
Where would that be added?
No, I mean, if that's what you want, maybe. But we don't do that in Lucene either.
It's just like an API. You ask for data, then you need to filter on your side.
Well, the thing is with permissions that you want for the user to only pull what they're allowed to, then they can filter from that subset, right?
Yeah, so but there we're talking about an API, which is something that should be accessible by a developer.
It should be a default, like, yeah, should the API be accessible by any user, and should this API check the permission, or should you as an app developer have access to the API and only query for the content item that the other user can see? Like, should I? Not sure.
I'm going to make a comparison with Swagger here. When you want to query on a specific content type, it gets added in Swagger. And there's a schema on the Swagger API to do that. So the API defines that you can retrieve these content types because they're there. But on your side, you're going to make a query there because the schema tells you that you can do that. Same thing with GraphQL. If we have a content type, we add the schema to the GraphQL definition so that you can query for a specific content type. But there, if it's dynamic if the schema itself is dynamic per user, then I'm not sure if that's what we want.
I don't see that question. Today in GraphQL today, there is an API to say get content items. When you list the content items and you say give me all the content items, and the user is authenticated, you will get content items that the user should not be able to see. That's the issue. Nothing to do with schema or whatever. The schema is there, the schema for content items.
Yeah, but for GraphQL, it's a schema that says here you have this content type, this content type.
Yes, there is that.
Yeah.
There is also the content items one. No, is there or not?
Not sure. I mean, you can retrieve by content types, but for the content items, I'm not sure.
Okay, so but imagining that there is only content type schema, that means you can only, well,
if a specific content type is restricted, then you're telling that the GraphQL API should not be able to, you should not be able to retrieve it from.
Yeah. And we can do that, right? Because we can do that at the content type level because it's an easy check. We should check that probably at the content type level. And because I don't think we have an API that says any content item ordered by ID. If it was the case, then this one would be an issue, but I'm not even sure we have that.
I don't think we have anything like that. Permission for GraphQL, no one has implemented anything.
I believe, Mike, you can restrict with the current exposed APIs by hiding the code to restrict it, just to see what it looks like. If it's more than 10 lines of code, stop it and we'll look at it. But I think you could add a PR to do that.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't really dug much into GraphQL code, and I don't know if I have the time to actually dig. That's why I'm asking to see if there's a specific place that you guys can guide straight, so I can kind of go look into it and see if I can just add the listener right now and just kind of somehow filter the data, just like how we do in contents. We have a way to add filters by the query. So I'm wondering if there is similar where I can implement like a specific interface or something.
Link it some documentation.
Well, I know there is something that will iterate over every content type and say whenever someone wants this content type, do this query in SQL. So at that point, we should also
say, where's that code?
Somewhere.
Yeah.
GraphQL somewhere. Queries. It's all about query. Content item field, content item query, content type query. But there's a content item query, so we have to be careful. Require permission. So it's already implemented at the type level.
Well, then it doesn't work.
But you know what the code is, so we can debug that. Can find an issue then. So that, and there is also content type 10 query, which cannot check for permission. That's the issue. But this one is just by ID, so this is different. So this will also check permission, but dynamically, not on the query, but when it is loaded.
So the content type query, the previous class, that one checks. If you can view a content type, then you can see it. Otherwise, it doesn't allow it. Does that logic get added even if the user isn't filtering by specific content type?
Here, the issue is that it's common permission of view content, and we have dynamic permissions for content types. Maybe this is the issue.
Maybe that's it, yeah. It's the view content and no. Well, yeah, maybe we need to check dynamically if this user has access to that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that check is invalid. Because if we look at contents, the view, we actually provide a list of content types to see if you have.
This is a schema builder, so this is done once. That's the issue. This is a generic one. It's not per user.
Oh.
That's why. So there needs to be something done dynamically also here. So this is just to prevent from seeing types that no one can see. But when the query is executed, we need to also check something.
But you see also there when you're checking permission for a view for a specific user, also you need to also provide the list of content types or the content definitions to check if you have.
This one is completely static. This one is wrong. This one is just removing all. So this one is not listing the queries for the types that are not visible by anyone. That's what it does. We need to add something else when the query is actually executed to then look at the user and the types for this user and then apply the filter on the query itself. or to return nothing. That's a different. The same way
So
that
some
in
sort of handler.
Yeah, and there is something already, I'm sure, and well doable in the query itself. And same thing here when it's building the schema for a content item. It's not checking the permission because it's per content item. But when it is actually implemented in the resolve async here, it should call to the authorization service to say, can the current user see this content item? Yes or no? So if I go back here in the content type query, there must be some resolve, similar resolve stuff. Can't find it as easy. Must be another class that does something, or maybe these methods do some things. Maybe somewhere there we need to add something. Start by finding an issue, maybe.
Well, there is an issue. I filed it, but I was hoping for a workaround where I can implement it on my end.
The workaround is to implement your own query. That's whatever you want. Your own custom GraphQL API. That's the code you want from SQL that is not dynamic or whatever, like these ones. But it could be also be implemented in the code directly. So it's fixing the issue and without a workaround. Okay. Anyone else? Cool. No triage on Thursday. I'll be out. So I'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.